Your thoughts on the gambling theory?
Yeah, I see it. I'm going to tie it all in. I saw this firsthand. The premise about tanking so badly that you force your way out, I actually saw it firsthand. I was a diehard Los Angeles Rams when they were in Anaheim, Rams fan as a kid in the 80s. And it all really began when they traded Eric Dickerson because they wouldn't pay him. He had a couple holdouts. And then finally one day he's on his way to Indianapolis. And I don't think that franchise was ever the same. And then I got the distinct feeling by the early 90s, they were trying to not be good. And by 94, it was their last year. In 95, they're in St. Louis. And they had completely depressed the fan base, which included me. And Jason, there's actually a template for this in Hollywood. Remember that all-time great baseball movie, Major League, where that lady takes over the moribund Cleveland Indians and everyone's saying, oh, my God, they're terrible. And they had these Japanese groundskeepers who said they're still shitty. Great line. And they put together a bunch of parts. And the lady, I think her name was Rachel Martin. She was actually trying to lose to a point where they could move the team, I think, to Florida, and they ended up somehow winning the pennant. So I'm thinking to myself, well, wait a minute. We've seen this. I've seen this in Hollywood. I've seen this in real life. That explanation from that writer, it is not the craziest theory. And you know what? I actually buy into a lot of it.
Wow. I love your Major League, the movie Major League. I love that analogy. You, particularly with the female ownership. And
Yeah.
look, so Miriam Adelson. Yeah, hold on. Wow, that with the Los Angeles Rams, female ownership. And so here you have Miriam Adelson, and you have Jeannie Buss. Jeannie Buss gets what she wants.
Oh, my God.
Now you have Miriam Adelson getting what she wants. And let me tell you who's waiting in the wings. Who's waiting in the wings for all this. Because once Miriam Adelson gets her casino or moves the team to Las Vegas, I guarantee you Mark Cuban reemerges as majority owner. He doesn't want to be the bad guy in getting rid of Luka and burning up his name and credibility in Dallas. He gets to blame this on Adelson. He gets to blame this on Nico Harrison. But once this is all finished, I guarantee you, because Mark Cuban's the only guy that really cares about basketball as it relates in between him and the Adelsons. The Adelsons just want a casino. They want to expand gambling into Texas more. The Major League movie and bringing Georgia Frontiere into this. Holy cow, this makes so much sense. And so, Steve, we're living in an era where most of the public realizes, hey, don't trust what the mainstream corporate media tells you. Look deeper. And that's why I keep saying, like, the credibility of professional sports has never been lower and never been in more jeopardy of collapse when you just start looking, what's the conversation we're going to have about the Super Bowl? What's the conversation we're going to have about Major League Baseball this year? What's the conversation we're going to have about the NBA? Everybody can see, hey, man, this gambling thing has gotten out of control. None of this is about competition. None of this is about fairness. None of the people involved really care about sports. They certainly don't care about fans. How long are fans going to continue to eat this crap?
Well, I think they do it out of habit. I think guys like you and me, as much as we rail out against it, we've done it for so long, and it is what we talk about. We almost have to. I think a lot of other fans wouldn't know what to do. But, Jason, let me give you a recent example of this actually happening with a franchise leaving a beloved fan base in a city they've been ensconced in for several decades to make that move over to Las Vegas. At least that's the plan. Oakland Athletics. There is no doubt the more you study that situation, what they did to that city and to those people was wrong. They had no intentions of ever really staying in a city where they are closely identified with. The Raiders already moved out, and now they're playing a bunch of neutral site games at Allegiant Field. And the Athletics, the last 4 or 5 years, despite overtures from other ownership groups, they basically decided it doesn't matter who owns it. We want to be in Viva Las Vegas. But it is interesting. We've seen this play out in Hollywood. We've seen it play out in real life. I'm just telling you, that guy kind of nailed it on certain things. Be so bad that there is apathy that it makes leaving earlier. I mean, this would not be like Bob Irsay getting a bunch of those Mayflower trucks in the middle of the night and hightailing it to Indianapolis. I think the new strategy is depress your fan base to a point they actually open up the gates and hope that you leave.
Let me play this clip of you from Mark Cuban a while back. It's just 30 seconds, but it's about him being a tiny bit uncomfortable pushing for what they clearly are pushing for now. Let's play SOT number 7.
You know, I talked about being the tech guy and the media guy, having an edge when I first came in. Like, I knew nobody else did, so I always had an edge. But so what's happening now, you saw it with Golden State, now with Boston, build all around the arena, and the arena becomes a central point for some bigger real estate development. I don't know shit about that. And so for me to say, okay, I'm going to put up $1 billion, even if I had to borrow it or whatever, and bring in a partner to run that for me, that's a big risk. 100 people will come in and say, I'll do it for you, and I know what I'm doing, but I just didn't want to be in that position of, not knowing and being able to control my own destiny.
So this is Mark Cuban justifying selling the team several years ago because, hey, this is outside my expertise, what they have planned, and it's already happening in other NBA cities. And I'm just Miriam Adelson doesn't care about basketball. She wants this gambling thing. Once she gets it, watch. Mark Cuban will return as the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. He's done this temporarily and said, hey, this is the way the NBA is going. I'm going to step back for a while. You guys do what you need to do. Your name's going to be mud here in the Dallas area. And then I'll come back as the conquering hero at another point. I'm going to give you this Nico Harrison, who's running the Mavericks. He worked at Nike for a long time, I think 19 years. His claim to fame was he was tight with Kobe Bryant, and he was one of Kobe Bryant's handlers. But his real claim to fame at Nike was blowing their recruitment of Steph Curry. They say that he called Steph Seth in part of their recruitment pitch, and that he aired a video intended for Kevin Durant in their pitch for Steph Curry. And it's one of the most embarrassing things that ever happened at Nike. This is the guy that gets installed as president and general manager of the Dallas Mavericks. And I say, hey, look, maybe the guy is a genius and he just had an off day and he made some mistakes and he was hungover. Who knows? But he's the perfect kind of guy to get, because he's running the Dallas Mavericks. His career had been 19 years at Nike. Now all of a sudden he's president GM of the Dallas Mavericks. He's the perfect kind of guy that you install to oversee the demolition of your franchise. He's disposable. And once again, Mark Cuban can return as the conquering hero and put real basketball people. We lost our way, and now I'm the hero coming back to resave the Dallas Mavericks. Help us grow the Fearless Army. Pound that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with all your fearless friends.